Now we're going to start the 3D project. So in order to do the 3D tutorials, I've got everything set up for you to download from the Canvas pages. And if somebody wants to try doing the 3D tutorials and they don't have access to Canvas, just make sure that you have some type of a ground plane and some type of an environment that are 1280 by 720 JPEG that you can use as images and just follow the steps. Okay, so first I want to download the folder structure for the tutorials, and I've already done that, and that will come down here. So when you click on download file, you'll get the AE project zip, and that has the folder structure that includes the projects, video, audio, layered PSCAI, flat images, and provided files. I want to change the name of the folder . Last name, first initial, and project for tutorials. And you can see that I've downloaded already all of the directions for the different tutorials. I have those available for you to download. So first, here's the different materials that we need, and I will download those and put them into my folder. So that's set. And then you can see here's the directions for how to do everything we're going to do. So there's a page, but there's also a downloadable document, and I've already done that. So we've got tutorial comps, how to make all the comps, 3D lighting, that's the first one, and then troubleshooting shadows, 3D camera, per character 3D, and then Cinema 4D and materials options. And then after that, there's making the video, how to output the tutorials. So we're going to start with making all of the comps. So we want to open up After Effects. And we will start a new project, new composition, and we will call the composition your last name, first initial, and 3D lighting. Because we're going to make all of the comps by making one comp that has everything we need in it and then duplicating it. And since the first one we're going to do is lighting, I'm going to start with the name lighting, and then we'll just change the name as we duplicate. We want it to be the normal size, HDV, HDTV 720, 29.97, 1280 pixels by 720, 29.97 frame rate, 5-second duration. Then we want to go to the 3D renderer tab. And here we want to make sure it says Classic 3D. Classic 3D renderer uses a little less memory, so it will work faster. And we will do that for most of the tutorials, then we'll change it at the end to the one that allows extrusion. So here we've got just a basic nothing, but we're ready to go. I'm going to make sure that this says yes, it's fit. We're going to import the JPEGs that we need. So I'm going to make sure this is saved first, Command S, and I'm going to save it into the correct folder in our folder structure. Now I'm going to import the JPEGs that I saved into the flat images folder. Now, since these are flat images, they're JPEGs, I do not want them to be a composition, and I don't want them to be sequences. So I'm just going to open this, and here they are. I'm going to save again, and I'm going to drag these down into the timeline. Now, since the sand is the ground, it has to be on the bottom, and the ocean has to be on the top. But of course, you can't see the sand through the ocean. Now that we have it set up with both of them in the timeline, though, we're going to Command S, and then we're going to turn on the 3D. So 3D is where you go to the top of the timeline, and in this title bar, you have all these buttons that you can turn things on, and we're going to turn on 3D layers. So underneath the cube, looks like an ice cube, go down to the box that's in the same column and click on it, puts a cube in the box. These are now 3D layers. I'm going to Command Save, making sure that ocean is on top. We're going to select the ocean, press P, and then Shift and press R. So now you can see we have, instead of just X and Y position, we've got X, Y, and a third position, which is Z. So X is the space that goes from left to right. It starts with 0 on the left side and goes up to 1280. The Y starts at 0 in the upper corner, goes down to 720. Z is depth in space, closer to the viewer or farther away from the viewer. The 0 is in the center of the space. The further away from the viewer you go, the larger the number becomes. The closer to the viewer, the more negative the number becomes. So I want to change the position for the ocean. I'm going to have X is at 640, and that's where it is. Y is at 360, and of course that's the center point here. The Z right now is at 0, but we want to change the Z to be 444. So now it's further away from us, and the sand is in the middle. So we can't see the ocean now. Maybe the ocean is stacked in the timeline above the sand, but because it is behind in space, in Z space, you cannot see it. Now I'm going to Command S, and I'm going to select the sand. I'm going to press P, I'm going to hold Shift and press R. And I'm going to set the position for the sand. It's going to be at X 640, Y is going to be at 720, and Z is going to be at 100. We're going to now set the rotation. So leaving the orientation at 0, 0, 0, we want to go to X rotation. And the X rotation should be set to 0 plus 90 degrees. And the Y and the Z are going to stay the same. They're going to be 0, 0. Command S. Now we're going to deselect all the layers. We want to have something that we can use to experiment with motion. And since we're going to experiment with not only immediate just motion, but also with text animator motion, we're going to use text. So let's use our name. If you have a nickname that's shorter than your first name, use that because it will take less time to render. So I'm going to double click on the T, and with the insertion point in the center, I'm going to select, let's say Arial, bold. Let's go up to Arial. and I'm going to set the size to 100 pixels. And now I'm going to type my name. Now, since I put the information for character before typing, it just has an empty text layer. I'm going to double click on that, and now I should be able to type my name. Whoops, got an extra N. Now I want this to be centered, and right now the paragraph is not centered, so I'm going to center the paragraph. Okay, now it's centered, and I'm going to save that. Once again, we need to make this into 3D, but we're going to make it per character 3D. So click on your name, fly down the arrow, go to text, and across to animate. We're going to change it to enable per character 3D. Now, since per character 3D allows you to move each individual letter separately, instead of just one cube, it has 2 cubes in the column underneath the 3D setting. Command S. Now we're going to set up the lighting. So get the selection arrow, and we're going to go to Layer, New, Light. We want to name one Spotlight 1, there it is, and we want to make sure it's spot. We want the color to be white. Okay, cone angle 90. Let's change this intensity to 80%. Let's say 80%. Cone angle 90. Cone feather 50. Fall off none. Turn on cast shadows. Shadow darkness 100%. Shadow diffusion 0. Okay. So now you see it's lit, but it's kind of dark. Command save that. Now we're going to add another light. New light. This one will be Spotlight 2. We're going to change the settings for this. Intensity 80%. But let's make the color sort of a goldish color, so it'll have a slightly different feel to it. Cone angle 50 degrees. Cone feather 0. Fall off none. Cast shadows on. Shadow darkness 100%. Shadow diffusion 0. That's okay. Now we're going to choose another light, and this light will be an ambient light, or light type ambient. Ambient light 1, and intensity 70%. And you can change the color back to white. And you notice that you don't have the option of casting shadows or having anything to do with fall off, because it's a fill light. Command save. Now for Spotlight number 2, we want to click on the triangle to the left to reveal the transforms. And we want to set the point of interest. Point of interest means what it's aiming at. We're going to change this to 640 for X, 333 for Y, and Z will be 0. We want to set the position transform to 640, negative 300, and negative 444.4. So now you have a spotlight coming from above. Command save. We want to select the name layer, and we want to look at the material options, we want to say cast shadows on. So cast shadows is automatically off. You need to turn cast shadows on. The shadows are already being accepted by the ocean and the sand. So these are the things you should look at when you have a problem with shadows. Does your light have cast shadows on? Does your object that is supposed to be casting a shadow have cast shadows turned on? And is the area that it's supposed to be casting the shadow onto, is it accepting shadows? So any background layers, is it accepting shadows? So that's all set now. Now we're going to take this composition and we're going to create all the compositions that we will be using for this group of tutorials. So select the composition name in the project window. Make sure it's the composition. It's the one that has the little film strip as an icon. And you're going to press Command D. Command D, Command D, Command D. So you've got we're going to select the first duplicate. So there's that, and then we want to have one more, I think. Command D. So this one we're going to change the name. So press Return. We're going to change the name of this one to 3D Camera. We'll select the next one, press Return. We'll change the name of this one to Per Character 3D. Select the next one. We'll change the name of this one to Cinema 4D. And I don't think we needed that last one. So. Lighting, camera, per character, and Cinema 4D. So this one's kind of an extra one. So I'm going to leave this one as an extra in case I need it.